Hi, I'm very excited to talk about our project today, but first and foremost, Louisville is really, really amazing. You kind of know you're going to be in for an interesting year if your calendar looks like this, right? So we've done a lot of things like this and many more, and we had an extreme privilege to work with two amazing city contacts. One was Kim Allen. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. She's the director of the Criminal Justice Commission in Louisville. And one, even though she's standing right next to me, still gets a slide because she's so amazing. Beth Niblock, the CIO of Louisville. And they took really great care of us and showed us Louisville and many, many things that we didn't even anticipate. Here's one example. The mayor, my team, Laura and Shonag and I, and the official bugler of Kentucky Derby, no big deal. Many, many other things as well. We had a lot of fun. There was some, batting. There was some Kentucky Derby stuff. We were trying other things. Bourbon was also there. We're going to get back to that. But we also had an unprecedented first-row access to the criminal justice system, which was really what we were there all about, right? We had interviewed a lot of people. We went to jail many times over, including on Valentine's Day. We rode with the police on Friday night. We went to courts a couple of times, and we really learned a lot about criminal justice and kind of appreciated how nuanced and how complicated the system is, and how really our project should respect that and kind of build on top of that. And to talk a little bit more about the nuances of criminal justice system, Beth.
Thanks, Marcin. So this next slide depicts the criminal justice system. Each one of these windowless huts represents a participant in there: police, corrections, judges, and there's no visibility into what they do. But they all have a part in the system, and sometimes they work against one another. The police start ramping up arrests when the jail is at capacity. So in order to address that, we have, in 1967, created the Criminal Justice Commission to help coordinate between all the players in the criminal justice system and to help look at the policies and procedures and what was happening. And because of our jail population issue and overcrowding, they actually created a jail policy committee that has two main questions: how many people are in jail and how long have they been here? So these are, what's flashing in front of you are a couple of our examples of reports that got sent out to the jail policy committee. So you saw one that had just a little bit of data, a little bit more data, nobody was reading the data, so now we have the big red print. So this was, which doesn't work. So this was the task before our Code for America Fellows. But not to use an overworked analogy, but their problem was, how do you take good but mass-produced bourbon and create Pappy Van Winkle, the aged perfection of jail dashboards?
All right, so I actually wanted to show you live demonstrations of our product, which was the criminal justice dashboard that we built together. So if you could switch to my computer, please. I'm just going to show it to you. What's interesting to remember is that you're looking at actual live data from Louisville Corrections. So we also had an unprecedented access, thanks to people working with Beth and thanks to the corrections people, to data in the jail database, which was pretty amazing. We could build on top of that. So imagine, for example, I'm a judge, and coming to this dashboard, I can immediately see how many people are incarcerated today, how many people are there in permanent beds and temporary beds, but also what are the alternatives to incarceration? What are all of these programs that are available to put people outside of jail, for example, work release, or home incarceration program, and how many spots are available? Now, all of this is live data, so you can start maybe going back in time and seeing how did it compare a week before or a week before that. Go back in time as far as you want. And here you can see just a couple of weeks ago, the jail population was above hard cap. And now, to me and to you, that probably doesn't mean that much. It's kind of a big deal, but you can also imagine that if you're a new judge in Kentucky or new prosecutor, you won't also know what it means. So first of all, we built in a little bit of a help in terms of explaining some of those terms. So for example, this page, imagine, you can just start dragging this and seeing what happens if you incarcerate more and more people, right? So you can see that if you go above capacity, you need to start deploying temporary boat beds, right? And if you go further and further down, above soft cap, red zone, hard cap, you actually have to start to open another part of jail that's maybe not exactly up to code, and it's a little bit problematic. And as you're doing it, you already learn all of these terms. You learn what are the real-life consequences of putting people in jail. But of course, booking and releasing people is not as simple as dragging a slider left and right. So we try to kind of build on top of that and add some, explain some of the nuances of incarcerating people. So let me show you another page here, which talks about the demographics of people who are in jail. So immediately you can see this many people are waiting for their trial, this many people are already doing their time, how many people are in different types of courts, how many people are physically in jail or on the out-of-bed programs. You have the possibility to also go back in time like before and see the data changing. It doesn't really change that much, but you can also start filtering it to add another layer on top of it. So you can, for example, say, show me only people in pretrial or post-sentence, right? You can see immediately the data comes back to you, in a blink of an eye. And for example, right here you can see that out of all the people waiting for trial, 81% of those people are occupying jail beds. So maybe there's an opportunity to put them, in out-of-bed programs. And if you're a member of Jail Policy Committee and maybe you're recommending the new program, or you're applying for a grant and you want to track this number, this is a very easy way to do that, right? You can come here every day and have it reflected on the screen. You can do even one better. You can look at trends, right? So take the data today and look at how it was shaped just one year before. And you can go back in time as far as you want, really. And for example, right here, you can see, what is this dip right here, right? I can click immediately and see, I guess it was Christmas. Maybe people are behaving a little bit more nice. And I don't actually know if that's true, but you can still filter things as well. So for example, show me only men or only women. You can see that the data is reflected immediately as well, which we think could be very, very powerful, right? You get an immediate access to it instead of waiting sometimes weeks to get a report back. Let me show you one other thing. Page with charges, right? You can see right here, if you're a judge, immediate look into how many people were booked last week, how many charges were made, typically it's more than one per person, and what were the most common ones that particular week. And you might, for example, on a whim, ask yourself, well, how does it compare with, let's say, 25 years ago, right? What was the top charge 25 years ago? Well, you have that option here as well, because first of all, you can split the screen to show two panes, and you can choose whatever you want on the left side, whatever you want on the right side. And the other thing that blew my mind was that the corrections people, throughout years, kept their data. Throughout all of the system upgrades, improvements, and whatnot, they wanted to make sure that the data is there. So you can go as far back as 1988 and see, for example, that DUI was kind of a big problem back then, right? And that resulted in a number of different programs and initiatives to combat this. And you can see, if you look at the right, DUI is nowhere to be seen, right? So today, of course, there are other issues, and we're hoping that this dashboard is going to help, deal with them faster and be like an important tool to help people with coming up with new initiatives or maybe tracking the ones that are already there. And I wanted to conclude with showing three things that directly correspond to some of the tenets or beliefs that Code for America has about how apps should be built and how the data should be accessed. First of all, sharing. Every page you see, including the combinations of filters and views and times you applied to it, gets its own URL. So you can take it with you, you can bookmark it on your desktop, or you can share it with people, have a conversation about data, exactly the one part of data you're interested in talking about. Two, opening up data. For everything you can see, you click on this Microsoft Office-inspired icon, and you not only have a JavaScript access if you want to build an app on top of that, you also have something that you can use in a tool you're probably very familiar with, which is Excel. Take the data, visualize it, analyze it a little bit more than this tool allows you to. And third of all, it's really all about people in the end, right? All of these charts are, high data and whatnot, but it's really all about people. Any given point, you can click on any of the bars and see who's behind it. And if you're a judge, you can look up their cases, you can investigate it, see if you can do anything to change those people's lives. So if you could go back to the main presentation, please. So, all right, yeah, that concludes it, and I hope this tool kind of continues the great Louisville tradition of looking at data and using it to make changes in the process.
Isn't that tool amazing? The criminal justice, yeah. The Criminal Justice Commission and the Jail Policy Committee have been wanting a tool like this since 1980. So what our code fellows have done has taken these windowless huts and put some windows in them, and they did it one better. They really brought us up to date. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank the Laura and John Arnold Foundation and our Louisville Bar Foundation who helped fund our code fellows, and the team bourbon planners, Laura, Shaunak, and Marcin. The dedication that you all brought to this project, the ferocity that you pushed us, you have left us such a much better city, and we will reap the benefits from that for years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you.